Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I want to do with you a really great stretch of your psoas. So your psoas is a muscle that runs from your back to your hip and it goes through your abdomen. And so when we're sitting at our desks for long periods of time, we get tight here when we're sitting down in our cars. Our hip flexors are shortened. This area is shortened and contracted, and that muscle is attached to the hip flexors. So a lot of times when we're doing stretches, let me back up a little bit here. So a lot of times when we're doing stretches like pigeon pose or something where we're trying to open up the hip flexors here, um, like pigeon poses here. I'm not really a yogi, but I know this. I know this stretch. So we're trying to open up the hip flexors, and we'll feel a nice stretch in the quads, and we'll feel, that nice stretch. And then a couple hours later, you're still feeling tight there. That's because there are more muscles than just these that need to be stretched out. Sometimes, if you go to a chiropractor or a massage therapist, they will manipulate that muscle and release your psoas. And it can be quite painful if you've ever had it done. Usually, they are pressing really hard and they take you to take some deep breaths and they just push on it and push on it and push on it until it finally kind of releases. So, um, and that can be costly, painful, and you might have to do it more than a couple of times. Like, you might have to do it on a regular basis if you're somebody with really tight hip flexors and tight psoas. So, this is a stretch that I love because you can do it to yourself. It's gentle and it can be very effective if you do it regularly. And when I say regularly, I don't mean every day. I mean like every few days, once a week, something like that. You don't want to do it every day because then you'll start to get sore. And there are different things on the market today to help you to release your psoas, but I like this one because it's gentle and you can do it to yourself, and you can gauge how hard you want to push on yourself. So um, we're gonna lay out flat, and I realize that my mat and my outfit are the same color, so um, I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. I don't want to melt too much into the mat. But so when we're going to go out, we're going to have legs out, and I'm going to rotate my leg in towards the mat. So to show you this way, when I lay down, I'm going to be laying down, and I'm going to rotate my legs in, okay? And then you'll feel what I'm talking about. So go ahead and lie out onto your mat, and just get comfortable. Settle yourself onto the mat. You don't have to do anything in particular. Just get comfortable, okay? Take some deep breaths. Find your place on the mat and just relax. And now from here, we want to go wide with our feet. So I'm going to go wider than my mat with my feet. And my feet are far away from my butt, okay? So I'm going to just rotate my right leg in so that it's folded towards the ground, towards my body, all right? Now, if you do this and you feel pain in your knee, this may not be a good stretch for you, but you can also kind of back off of the stretch by pushing your leg away from you and straightening out your leg a little bit. So in this position, I'm quite a bit bent. Flexing your foot might help also to relieve a little bit of tension in the knee if you're finding some tension in your knee, okay? But if you find like, oh my gosh, this is just excruciating, all I can feel is my knee, then this might not be a good stretch for you, okay? So I'm here, I'm lying down, that knee is rotated in. You're already gonna start to feel a stretch. Stretch the opposite leg straight. And now you'll notice that your butt on this side, my right side, is wanting to lift up off the mat. You want to rotate your body slightly, and I'll even kind of pick up my hips a little bit and place myself so that I can put a little bit more weight into that right side of my body and just let that leg fall on its own. Don't push on it with your hand. Don't bring your other foot on there and push on it. Just let it open on its own. Take some deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. As you do this stretch, make sure that you're not squeezing your glutes and that you're able to relax those glutes. And then as you're just kind of laying here in the stretch, you may notice that this area, the hip flexor area, the hip, and your glutes feel a stretch. That's good. And then you may notice that up above your hip flexor, in between your belly button and your hip bone, you may start to feel like some kind of stretch or even a little bit of pain. Um, and that area right there is your psoas. So if you can take your hand and kind of go from that hip bone over in towards your navel, but right before you get to your navel, actually, like in between your navel and your hip bone, and just kind of gently push. And as you push, you'll start to feel some tightness. You'll feel a little bit of pain. That's your psoas. And you just want to gently take some deep breaths. Long exhale, gently push on that psoas, kind of gently massage it up and down. So when I say up and down, towards your pelvis and then up towards your belly button. And just kind of gently ease into that, keeping your weight into that hip and trying not to roll away from the stretch. And just do that for a couple of breaths. We don't want to stay here too long. We're going to ease out of that stretch and bring the other leg bent. Now, both knees are bent. I don't know if you can see that from this angle. But now we're going to rotate my left knee in towards my body and stretch my right leg out. Now, if this is not enough stretch for you, like you're here and you still can't feel it, walk your foot away from your body a little bit and you'll get more stretch. So here, I'm starting to feel more stretch. I'm just going to kind of turn myself a little bit, not a lot. I sort of put a little bit of weight into that left hip and take some deep breaths and try to find my psoas. Try to find right here in the low abdominals where there's a little bit of tenderness, a little bit of tightness. And so right between my hip bone and my belly button, right above my hip flexor, in my belly, I'm just kind of massaging until I find that tender spot. And then you just want to just gently glide up and down in that area and just kind of gently release it. And so you are in control of how deep you go, how much pain you're willing to give yourself. And this is not bad for you. This is because it hurts. Doesn't mean it's bad for you. It's just that muscle is really tight and it's tender and it's not used to being touched because it's in your belly and we don't usually massage our bellies. But in Pilates, we do massage our bellies with an exercise called stomach massage on the reformer. Side note. So just kind of ease into that. You don't want to stay here too long. Make sure you're taking some deep breaths. I know I'm talking. Hopefully you're breathing while I'm talking. And then we're just going to ease out of it. So my knees are a little tender in that position, but not so much that I can't handle it. And I feel it on the inside of the knee a little bit. So I kind of flex my foot and try to alleviate that. Um, but so that's the psoas stretch. If you have any questions or comments about that stretch, well, already I feel really nice and limber. I already feel taller. I already feel a little bit more relaxed in the hip flexors, and I wasn't really that tight to begin with, but I already feel a difference just in that little bit of time. So if you have any other questions about the psoas or hip flexors or any kind of stretches like that, or about this stretch in particular, feel free to reach out to me. I'm at Just Don't Stop on Instagram, and aloha.